The Chernobyl disaster. The Chernobyl disaster occurred on April 26, 1986 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in Ukraine, then part of the Soviet Union. During a late-night safety test intended to simulate a power outage, Reactor 4 experienced a catastrophic explosion and fire due to a combination of reactor design flaws and operator errors. This led to the release of large quantities of radioactive particles into the atmosphere. The explosion blew off the reactor's 1,000-ton lid and exposed the core, causing a fire that burned for 10 days. The radioactive fallout spread across much of the western USSR and Europe, with Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia being the most affected. The nearby town of Pripyat, home to plant workers and their families, was evacuated the next day, leaving behind a ghost town frozen in time. The exclusion zone was later expanded to a 30-kilometer radius, displacing over 100,000 people in total. The disaster is considered the worst nuclear power plant accident in history due to the immediate casualties and long-term health effects on the exposed population. The incident resulted in 31 direct deaths within a few weeks, but the long-term effects, including cancers and other radiation-induced diseases, have affected thousands more. Despite extensive cleanup efforts, including the construction of a massive steel sarcophagus to encase Reactor 4, the area remains uninhabitable due to persistently high radiation levels. The disaster led to significant changes in nuclear safety standards worldwide and contributed to the decline of nuclear power development in many countries. Deepwater Horizon oil spill. The Deepwater Horizon oil spill, also known as the BP oil spill, began on April 20, 2010 in the Gulf of Mexico. A blowout on the Deepwater Horizon offshore drilling rig triggered a catastrophic explosion, killing 11 workers and sinking the rig. Over the next 87 days, approximately 4.9 million barrels of oil gushed uncontrollably from the Macondo well, making it the largest marine oil spill in history. The oil spread over 68,000 square miles of ocean and washed ashore along Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida coastlines. The environmental impact was devastating. Vast stretches of marine and wildlife habitats were contaminated, resulting in the death of thousands of birds, fish, and marine mammals. The spill caused significant damage to coral reefs, mangroves, and wetlands. Local economies relying on fishing and tourism faced severe disruptions as fishing grounds closed and beaches were tainted with oil. Efforts to contain and clean up the spill involved thousands of workers and techniques like skimming, controlled burns, and chemical dispersants to break up the oil. The operation faced numerous challenges, and full environmental recovery is expected to take decades. The disaster prompted significant changes in oil drilling regulations. The U.S. government imposed a 6-month moratorium on deepwater drilling and introduced stricter safety standards and oversight measures. Great Smog of London. In December 1952, a combination of cold weather, windless conditions, and heavy air pollution from coal burning caused the Great Smog of London to descend on the city. The dense toxic smog reduced visibility to mere meters, bringing the bustling metropolis to a near standstill and causing major transport and daily life disruptions. For 5 harrowing days, the city was covered in a lethal fog that infiltrated homes and buildings. The smog led to an estimated 4,000 to 12,000 deaths from respiratory problems and accidents. Hospitals were overwhelmed and morgues ran out of space. This catastrophe shocked the nation and spurred significant changes in environmental policies, culminating in the Clean Air Act of 1956, which aimed to reduce air pollution and prevent such a disaster from happening again. Bhopal gas tragedy. On the night of December 3, 1984, toxic gas leaked from a pesticide plant owned by Union Carbide India Limited in Bhopal, India, causing the Bhopal gas tragedy, also known as the Bhopal disaster. A catastrophic failure in safety protocols led to a massive leak of methyl isocyanate gas, exposing over 500,000 people to its deadly effects. The immediate aftermath was horrific, with death estimates ranging from 3,000 to 16,000. The toxic gas caused severe respiratory problems, eye irritation, and other acute symptoms. Long-term health effects have been devastating, with chronic illnesses, respiratory diseases, and various cancers affecting tens of thousands more. The disaster was a stark example of severe negligence and inadequate safety measures at the plant, sparking global outrage and raising awareness about industrial safety and corporate responsibility. Legal battles ensued, resulting in a settlement many deem insufficient. Widely regarded as the world's worst industrial disaster, Bhopal is a somber lesson on the importance of safety and vigilance in industrial operations. Centralia mine fire. The Centralia mine fire is an underground blaze that has been burning beneath the borough of Centralia, Pennsylvania since May 1962. It all started when a trash fire in a landfill in an old strip mine accidentally ignited an exposed coal seam. Despite numerous attempts to extinguish it, the fire spread through the extensive network of underground coal mines and proved impossible to control. This relentless inferno has caused the ground to sink and release dangerous levels of carbon monoxide, making the area extremely hazardous. The situation became so dire that the town was eventually condemned, and most residents were relocated in the 1980s under a government buyout program. Today, Centralia is nearly a ghost town, with only a few stubborn residents remaining amidst the eerie, smoking landscape, and the Centralia mine fire is expected to burn for several more centuries. This story of fire beneath a town has inspired books and movies, symbolizing environmental and industrial caution. Aral Sea Ecological Crisis. The Aral Sea, once the fourth largest lake in the world, has been dramatically shrinking since the 1960s due to Soviet irrigation projects that diverted its feeder rivers. This environmental disaster has dried up the lake, killing fish and ruining the local fishing industry that once thrived there. As the waters receded, they exposed toxic sediments, turning the lake bed into a toxic desert that has caused severe health problems for the surrounding communities. These exposed chemicals have led to respiratory diseases, cancers, and other serious health issues. The attempts to revive parts of the Aral Sea have seen some success, like the partial restoration of the North Aral Sea. Still, much of the region remains an ecological and humanitarian crisis. Interestingly, efforts by Soviet authorities to address the problem in the late 20th century often backfired, exacerbating the crisis. One such attempt involved planting a forest of saxaul trees on the dried seabed to reduce dust storms and stabilize the soil. However, this was only partially successful and the overall impact was limited. The disappearance of the Aral Sea has also caused significant climate changes in the area. Winters have become harsher and summers are hotter and drier, devastating agriculture and further straining the local economy. Once thriving communities around the lake have faced displacement and economic ruin. Cuyahoga River Fire. The Cuyahoga River in Cleveland, Ohio became so polluted by decades of industries dumping their waste that it caught fire multiple times. Factories along the river's banks discharged untreated waste directly into the water, including oil, chemicals, and heavy metals from steel mills, oil refineries, and other manufacturing plants. Over time, the river turned into a toxic stew choked with debris and coated with a slick of oily pollutants. The most famous fire occurred on June 22, 1969. That day, sparks from a passing train ignited the oil-soaked debris floating on the river's surface. The flames quickly spread, reaching heights of 5 stories and engulfing nearby infrastructure such as railroad bridges. This dramatic blaze captured national attention and highlighted the severe environmental degradation caused by unchecked industrial pollution. This event served as a catalyst for the burgeoning environmental movement in the United States, ultimately leading to the establishment of the Environmental Protection Agency and the passing of the Clean Water Act. These landmark developments aim to address water pollution and restore the health of America's rivers and lakes, marking a significant turning point in the nation's approach to environmental regulation and conservation. Gulf of Mexico Dead Zone. The Gulf of Mexico Dead Zone is a massive area of hypoxic, low-oxygen waters that forms each summer caused by nutrient pollution from the Mississippi River. This pollution, primarily nitrogen and phosphorus from agricultural runoff, leads to explosive algae growth. As the algae die and decompose, they deplete the oxygen in the water, creating a dead zone where marine life can't survive. Imagine a vast underwater wasteland devoid of fish and other sea creatures. This phenomenon wreaks havoc on the fishing industry, leading to significant economic losses for fishermen and coastal communities. It also disrupts the delicate balance of marine ecosystems, affecting species diversity and habitat quality. Efforts are ongoing to tackle this environmental crisis with strategies like better agricultural practices, improved wastewater treatment, and policies to reduce fertilizer use. Despite these efforts, the dead zone remains a pressing environmental issue, highlighting the urgent need for sustainable solutions. Exxon Valdez oil spill. The Exxon Valdez oil spill occurred on March 24, 1989, when the Exxon Valdez oil tanker struck a reef in Prince William Sound, Alaska, spilling 10.8 million gallons of crude oil. It's considered one of the most devastating human-caused environmental disasters. The spill affected over 1,300 miles of coastline, killing thousands of marine animals, including sea otters, seals, and seabirds. Captain Joseph Hazelwood, who was allegedly intoxicated and left the bridge in the hands of a less experienced third mate, faced significant controversy and legal consequences. Cleanup efforts involved thousands of workers and billions of dollars, but were only partially successful. The incident led to major changes in oil transport and spill response regulations in the United States, including the Oil Pollution Act of 1990, which improved prevention and response measures. Love Canal contamination. The Love Canal contamination in Niagara Falls, New York, is one of the most infamous environmental pollution disasters in U.S. history. In the 1940s and 1950s, the Hooker Chemical Company buried 21,000 tons of toxic industrial waste in an unfinished canal, which was later covered and sold to the city for $1. Fast forward to the late 1970s, and the area had become a residential neighborhood with homes and schools built right on top of this toxic dump. Residents began noticing strange smells, chemical burns after stepping into their basements, and black sludge oozing up through the soil. Alarmingly, the chemicals, including dioxin, a highly toxic compound, began seeping into homes and schools, leading to serious health problems. Reports of birth defects, miscarriages, and cancers among the local population started to rise, causing widespread panic. By 1978, the situation had become dire, prompting the New York State Health Department to declare a state of emergency. The federal government stepped in, and over 800 families were evacuated from the contaminated area. This dramatic response drew national attention and underscored the severe consequences of inadequate industrial waste management.